Come on through. We have 8 stories tonight. 8 stories plus this bonus story. Another story they're talking about on the channel. Talked about it recently. There's been an update in this case, and we're talking about the Melody Buzzard case out of California. Her mother has now been rearrested for first degree murder in her case. And all along, I knew, like everybody else knew, that she was the primary suspect. She has been arrested in connection with her 9-year-old daughter's death after her remains was found. The multi-state hunt for Melody Buzzard, a missing 9-year-old California girl, came to a close when her remains were discovered in a rural area of southern Utah, authorities announced Tuesday. Members of the sheriff's office and the FBI arrested Ashley Buzzard, Melody's mother, Tuesday morning on a charge of first-degree murder. Santa Barbara County Sheriff Coroner Bill Brown said Tuesday. Authorities said she deliberately tried to hide her steps, such as backing a rental car at a gas station in an attempt to avoid detection by their surveillance cameras. The body was initially discovered by a couple who were taking photos in a remote part of Wayne County, Utah, Brown said. The remains couldn't be immediately identified, he said, but it was apparent that the descendant was a female who had died from gunshot wounds to the head. But DNA analysis found it was a female DNA match to Melody's mother, he added. We have recovered a significant amount of evidence that clearly indicates that this heinous crime was committed by Ashley Buzzard, Melody's mother, and the very person upon who she relied upon and trusted the most in this world. Brown said at a news conference. CNN is attempting to determine whether Buzzard has an attorney. Molly's parental grandmother, Lily Denise, told CNN affiliate KEYT and KSBY earlier Tuesday that the sheriff's office informed her Melody's body had been discovered. CNN has reached out to the grandmother, who declined to comment because she was on her way to the news conference. Brown went through a timeline on Tuesday that explained what led investigators to Melody's body. So Melody was last seen October the 9th. Buzzer went on a road trip with the 9-year-old daughter on October 7th. When surveillance footage captured the girl at a local car rental agency, dressed in what seemed to be a disguise, authorities said. Melody was wearing a hoodie hood over her head and what appeared to be a wig that is darker and straighter than her natural hair. The Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office said investigators believe the wig may have been used to alter her appearance. The rental car traveled through Nebraska, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and Kansas before returning home to New Hope, about 55 miles northwest of Santa Barbara, authorities said. Investigators have confirmed that as she was seen returning to her Lamborghini residence on October 10th, driving the same rental vehicle she departed with on October 7th, but Bradley was not in the car. The sheriff's office previously said the young girl was last seen on video surveillance with her mother on the Colorado side of the Colorado-Utah border on October 9, 2025, Brown said Tuesday. Detectives according to Brown now believe Melody was killed shortly after that stop. Melody was supposedly missing days later on October 14, not by a family member but a school administrator concerned about her long absence. The FBI joined the search for Melody, a case having drawn widespread attention well outside Southern California. And here is the news story.
News in the search for Melody Buzzard, the 9-year-old California girl who has been missing for more than 2 months now. A source telling NBC News that her body has been found. Earlier today, police took Melody's mother into custody at her home in Santa Barbara County. NBC's Dana Griffin joins us now with the latest. Dana, our affiliate KSBY is reporting that officers had to pry open the door to Ashley Buzzard's house. What are we learning? And remind viewers of the details of this case.
Yeah, so Ellison, I just got an update from our investigative reporter, Andy Blankstein. He can confirm, based on a law enforcement source familiar with this investigation, that 9-year-old Melody Buzzard's body was found earlier this month, found out of state. Now, this is very shocking and the news that a lot of people have been waiting to hear because it's been several months since she went missing. She was last seen October 9th. We've seen the surveillance video showing the mom and daughter. This was at a California car rental counter where they were both donning fake wigs. Video taken by neighbors this morning at around 7:45 showed Ashley Buzzard being taken in handcuffs, led away by officers. The neighbors there describing it as quick and quiet. Now, investigators say they expect to get more details on this case later today, and they say that they have a quote, major development in this investigation. The Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office has been investigating this since October. Melody, as I mentioned, has been was last seen October 9th while on a 3-day road trip with her mother. No one knew where she was. The mom came back. Melody was nowhere to be found. Ashley, the mom, the 40-year-old mother, she was actually arrested in November for false imprisonment charges. Well, a judge later dropped those charges for insufficient evidence. And so here she is rearrested just a couple of days before Christmas. And we hope to learn more information about Melody, her 9-year-old daughter's death and disappearance. Ellison?
And it may be too early, Dana, to know if she is being cooperative with authorities now, but in the past, did police say she was cooperating when this was a missing persons case?
No, they say she was actually uncooperative. So it'll be interesting to see how did they come to this conclusion? How were they able to find her body? Were they tipped off by a family friend? Did she finally cooperate? Those are all details that we hope to learn at this 2 p.m. press conference. It's going to happen at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and we will be there and we'll hopefully get some new updates. We'll be across it. Ellison?
NBC's Dana Griffin on that breaking news in LA. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
We think
I'm Julia Janae with Core TV, and we have some major breaking news for you out of California. The body of missing 9-year-old Melody Buzzard has been found, and her mother, Ashley Buzzard, has been arrested in connection with her daughter's murder. The paternal grandmother of little Melody telling our affiliate KSBY there on California's Central Coast this morning that she was told this by detectives, that Melody Buzzard's body was found in early December in Utah in an area where the mother and daughter had traveled. Now, law enforcement officials believe that Melody was killed and that it's likely she's been dead since October. That's according to law enforcement sources telling ABC News. They say that she was known to be missing. Investigators have been waiting on DNA to come back on those human remains, which now have come back, confirming it was indeed Melody. Now, Ashley Buzzard was arrested due to that DNA test return, according to those law enforcement sources. The investigation into the missing girl was sparked back in October, where her school reported her extended absence. Authorities determined that Melody and Ashley left their California home on October 7th for this 3-day road trip that took them all the way to Nebraska. And you remember this surveillance video of Ashley seeming to wear a wig along with her daughter. They were last seen together on October 7th at that car rental company in their hometown. Now, Melody was last seen alive on October 9th near the Colorado-Utah border. This is according to authorities, that when Buzzard returned the vehicle at that car rental later, Melody was not with her. Now, Ashley never cooperated with authorities during the search for her daughter, and she was actually charged in November with false imprisonment for not letting a man leave her house who was trying to help her find Melody. But those charges were eventually dismissed and she was released. But again, she has been rearrested at her home this morning in connection with her daughter's death. We will keep you updated with any new developments. For now, we'll go back into the programming that's already in progress. Judgment with Ashley Banfield.
I'm giving my closing thoughts on this particular story. And a lot of people are just making comments to the video, and people suggest that she should get the death penalty. I would say absolutely. When you are hiding the remains of your loved one, your own flesh and blood, your own child, that you shot in the head multiple times, threw away like trash, came back to California and pretended like you ain't know what happened to your daughter. You shall ultimately get the maximum penalty under California's law. That should be the death penalty if convicted at trial. In fact, you're gonna be convicted, but you need to be thrown under the jail. This was premeditated. This was calculated. This was an ambush. This is disgusting. You failed your own child. Your child already went through a lot, losing her father in a motorcycle accident before she was born. Then had to deal with being murdered by her own mother. Some people does not deserve children. Seriously. This is no, there's no excuse to why this happened. You can't say, oh, well, you know, was going through a lot. I'm still, processing, the loss of my husband from a couple of years ago, and, I'm stressed out, parenting, and there's resources. You have family members that could you reach out to for help. So it's no excuse. At the end of the day, you plant this out. You plant this murder. And when you plan a murder, that means you plan a homicide. And you should ultimately get the biggest penalty in a court of law. This is so despicable. I already knew the mother was responsible. I already knew the outcome was going to be. She's been missing since October. They just found her remains 2 days before Christmas. This crazy world we live in. To cover this up for that long. May Melody Buzzard rest in eternal peace. And may Ashley Buzzard, the mother, get the maximum penalty again under California's law. She needs to book absolutely 100% thrown at her. Don't seriously. She needs to book doing that. Let's move on to our first story.
That breaking news coming out of Roseville tonight where 2 people have been arrested.
Let's talk about Roseville, California. A Roseville girl is found unresponsive in a home and dies. Our couple is arrested as the primary suspect, and their 5-year-old daughter was injured. Now, Roseville police on Monday said the couple was arrested in connection with the killing of a 7-year-old girl. The suspects were identified by police as 26-year-old Jessica Sabanjeski, 27-year-old Ratuquayo Dupree. Around 7:30 a.m., a resident at the Ohio Court home called police and told them that they had found a 7-year-old girl responsive inside the home. First responders and police at the scene noted that the girl appeared to have injuries, but no specifiers were detailed at the time. 5-year-old girl was also found injured in a bedroom. The girls were taken to the hospital. Police said the 7-year-old later died, according to police. Seven Jesse is the mother of the 2 girls. Police noted that the 2 other children were found sleeping in the home. Both were unhurt, police said. Detectives said Sabansky and Dupree were arrested on suspicion of murder, conspiracy, and felony charges, and that the 2 were in a dating relationship and lived at the home where the children were found. They were booked into the South Placer County Jail, police said. Thank you to our Roseville patrol officers and Roseville fire partners who responded to the scene and our detectives who worked diligently to investigate this case. Our hearts go out to those who have been impacted by the tragic loss, police said. DP was a former Citrus Heights police officer. The department confirmed but was only employed with the department for just under 8 weeks in 2021. He had filed a lawsuit against the department in 2020. The Placer County Sheriff's Office confirmed that Sabansky and Dupree were booked into jail October 6th on allegation of conspiracy and grand theft. They bailed out. Dupree was also facing charges of carrying a loaded firearm in public. Let's go to the news video.
Turning to crime now, Roseville police say they're investigating the tragic death of a 7-year-old girl as a homicide after she was found with injuries inside a Roseville home. Now, 2 people, including her mother, are under arrest. Police say the suspects are 36-year-old Jessica Sabansky and 27-year-old Retiquel Dupree, now charged with murder, conspiracy, and felony child abuse. Officials say the 2 were in a dating relationship and lived at the home where this occurred. Officers were called to Oahu Court just before 8 this morning. Police say the child and a 5-year-old girl were found with injuries and taken to the hospital where the 7-year-old passed away. Police say 2 other children were found inside the home but were not hurt.
Closing thoughts on this particular story. Like I said before in the other story, some people don't deserve to be parents. One will have to ask themselves, What did the 7-year-old do
You did it phone on crack.
to deserve to be hurt the way she was hurt? What did the 5-year-old do to deserve to be injured? And again, what did the 7-year-old do to deserve to be killed? I said this all the time. Background checks are important on both parties. It's only $10. And sometimes it's just okay not to have children. Because again, a lot of times people have children for the wrong reasons. Again, this was preventable. I'm pretty sure the system, though, these children, you got to think about CPS, because I'm pretty sure it's not the first time that abuse has in his home. Probably ain't the first time it was reported, but nothing was done. And stuff gotta be done about stuff like this. These stuff gotta be taken seriously. But the way that these parents, in my opinion, brutally killed the 7-year-old and injured 5-year-old is horrific. And the scary part about it is they have other children at home, and I'm pretty sure all the children were abused in some way, somehow, some fashion, and they're gonna forever be changed for the rest of their lives. This is traumatic for anyone to experience to go through sad situation. And hope justice is served in this case. Parents need to be backed up, and system needs to be held accountable. We'd also go to the family of the 7-year-old and those other children were injured. Let's move on to our second story. Our next story is going to take us to Chicago. We talked about the story previously in the channel about the mother who was jumped with her 2 children. There's been an update that I'm not shockingly surprised about, but I wish the penalty was much greater in this case. But 7 children have been charged, and the attack on the mother of the 9-year-old son outside of Far South Side School, police said. So the children are ages 10 to 13 are facing misdemeanor charges and have been assigned counseling services. Video of the attack outside an elementary school went viral, shocking neighbors. And this is South Geary. So 7 minors have been charged in the attack of a mother and her 9-year-old son outside of South Geary Elementary School that went viral last month. 7 children whose ages ranges from 10 to 13 are facing misdemeanor battery count in connection to the attack and were assigned counseling services upon the release from custody. Chicago police said investigation is ongoing. The charges come from an incident that saw Koshanda Hatter and her son confronted and being by a group of young students while walking home last month from Oroville Elementary School on 10740 South Coalhorn Avenue. Both Hatter and his son were taken to Trinity Hospital in serious condition after a group struck the victims multiple times. On November 17th, police said at the time, viral video from the incident outside the school shows kids surrounding Hatter and her son, them throwing punches and pushing them to the ground. Hatter wrote a line that the kids stomped her and banged her son's head into the concrete. Her dad was with them while they were getting drunk. He was terrified, and so was my daughter. Hatter, I felt like I failed my kids. Video of the incident caused shock and outrage from community members and school principals said Chicago Public Schools and other agencies didn't do enough to address bullying at the school. The shooting that John Hatter and his son already picked up a reputation for similar attacks in the past at Weberberg, sometimes even towards adults, states, Senator Willie, President who had been in close contact with the Hatter family, said at the time of the attack. Mayor Brandon Johnson, a former teacher, said, video of the attack left him deeply disturbed. The Chicago Housing Authority is working on additional measures to support the family who live in a Novak public housing complex. And community violence prevention groups are working with students to address the incident, Johnson said. Johnson also promised the attackers will be held accountable. We must redouble our efforts to teach our young people that violence is never an acceptable response. Johnson said in a statement, our students and families should always feel safe on the way to and from school. And here is the news video. I'm trying to find it.
Police say 7 children face charges for a November attack on a mom and her 9-year-old son. This happened in Chicago's South Deering neighborhood. The mom and her son were walking near Oval T. Bright Elementary School. These children range in age from 10 to 13 years old. They now face battery charges. Officials say all 7 were referred counseling services and released from jail. The attack is still under investigation.
Tonight, 7 people now facing criminal charges. This over an attack on a woman and her children. That attack happening near Bright Elementary School. It happened last month. And the video of it was shared tens of thousands of times on Facebook. And maybe you saw it. It shows a woman being punched before the assault turns even more violent. And actually, we've blurred the faces of those involved because they are minors. 7 children, ages 10 to 13, now have been charged with battery.
We had some really troubling stories that we did have to follow up on. One of those was a situation where a woman was walking with her children and she was assaulted. Of the 7 juveniles, I mean, we're talking about 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 13, I think, was the oldest age among this group. And we even paused the video because so bad. I taking a 33-year-old woman and her son as they were walking home from Orville Ride Elementary on November 17th. This was some video the day after now. She was being escorted back to that area there. These are just things that would never happen to anyone. And both victims were taken to the hospital, the woman and her son. There's also a daughter there that was unharmed, but that's physically being that kind of assault on your family members, I'm sure.
Thoughts on this particular story? First and foremost, I agree with the arrest, but in my opinion, the charges should have been upgraded. And what I mean by that is that it shouldn't have been a misdemeanor. It should have been a felony. And I'm gonna tell you why. When you're a young child, and I advocate for children only, but I believe when you indulge in adult crimes, then you should be doing an adult time. And I believe in the situation also that the parents of these juveniles should also charge. Because where's the remorse? And all we saw was parents making videos responding basically with fake apologies to make themselves look good. And then even having their own children accountable and making excuses. You cannot make excuses for children who are out of control. And it starts at home. It starts at home. All those parents need to be sued. The school system needs to be sued. And in my opinion, the police department needs to be sued. Because those children should be charged with a felony. They need to be charged with a felony. That's what it was bad. It was assault and battery. It was a felony. That thing about that video was a misdemeanor. It was a felony. The felony charge and having them released and sent to counseling. At the end of the day, they need more than that. So just in my opinion, I think those children should be hit with a felony for what they did because they assaulted 3 people, mother and her 2 children, and they had no remorse. We'll move on to our next story.
Oh, okay. Okay, here I go.
No, good job.
Lincoln County, Wisconsin. Parents are arrested, facing child abuse charges after investigators discovered 8 children living in an RV alone. So 2 people are in custody after investigators in Lincoln County discovered 8 children and 5 dogs living in an RV in the town of Bradley. Last Friday, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office received a report of a possible child neglect situation after a child went to a neighbor's home and asked for food. According to an incident summary report from the Sheriff's Office, the child told the neighbor their parent were not home. The neighbor brought food to the children and called the Sheriff's Office. The neighbor told investigators 2 adults and 8 children were living in an RV. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office and Child Protective Services responded to the RV to investigate. They found that the parents had left 8 young children home alone while they went to buy marijuana. Investigators also learned that the parents were regularly disciplining children by punching, kicking, or putting them outside while not properly dressed. Investigators said the RV did not have heat. The children's investigators did not feel safe at home. The children were moved from the home by CPS. The parents contended they were both arrested for physical abuse of the child neglect, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. The children were temporarily relocated while CPS works to find a more suitable place for them to stay. 5 dogs were also taken from the RV and relocated to the Lincoln County Human Society. The parents were booked into the Lincoln County Jail. The sheriff's office is reporting the names in order to protect the identity of the children. I get it. They're going to protect the identities of the children, but these parents should be exposed for what they did to these 8 children and these dogs. No excuse for this behavior, this conduct, and it's disturbing and disgusting for these parents out here that don't even care about their children, right? But only care about themselves. So why would you have children if you're not going to take care of your children? Why would you have animals if you're not going to take care of your animals? Some people do not deserve children nor pets because if you're not going to take care of them, you shouldn't have them. But they do, and at the end of the day, people like this should not be allowed to release some children into the world and mistreat them like this. It's disgusting. And I would say throw away the key and make an example out of these parents. Let's move on to our next one. Let's go to Florida for this next story. Justin Golden, he has been sentenced in Florida to 30 years after he ran over and killed his 8-month-old son. And I have watched the body cam footage of the police on scene and the interrogation video of the father and the mother before the father was taken to jail. Now, it started over an argument. The father got out the car, went to the back of the car to charge the car seat, and laid the child in the middle of the street on the driver's side. This is what we need to know. On Friday, December the 19th, Justin Gordon was sentenced to 30 years in prison for killing his 8-month-old son, Pablo Kai Gordon. Gordon admitted guilt in court, calling himself a monster and apologized to his family for the tragedy. The judge rejected pleas for leniency, saying Gordon's lack of care and trust violation as a father. Florida father who admitted to running over and killing his 8-month-old son after an argument with the child's mother was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Justin Gordon, 21, addressed the court ahead of sentencing, telling the judge, quote, I was the monster who killed him, according to multiple outlets, including WTOB-TV, First, Post News, WKRC, and Law and Crime. Gordon learned his fate in Duval County Court on Friday, December 19th after pleading guilty in September to behavioral homicide and aggravated manslaughter in the death of his infant son, Pablo Kai Gordon. The federal incident occurred on the morning of January 25th, 2025, while Gordon and the child's mother were driving with Pablo in the car, according to an arrest affidavit cited by Law and Crime and WKRC. The couple began arguing while stopping at an intersection in Jacksonville, a dispute that really centered on baby rights and money. Gordon removed the child from the vehicle, placed him on the roadway, then he turned to the driver's seat and drove forward, letting go of the infant, the outlets reported, citing the police. In a span of 3 to 4 seconds, Pablo Gordon went from being safely in the car to being killed and run over by his father, possibly John Kalinowski, signed court, WTO2 reported. Several witnesses described seeing the entire incident play out. Officials said one woman on crime reported saw Gordon's place, which she thought was a bag of trash, on the ground. It was only after Gordon drove over it and she saw it move that she realized it was a child. Paramedics rushed Pablo to the hospital. He was pronounced dead. WKRC reported Gordon fled the scene, but was later located and arrested. Before sentencing on Friday, he read a prepared statement out loud to the court. Quote, I feel as his protector, as his father, he said, according to WTO, BTV, and WKRC. Adding that while he did not attempt to kill his son, I know that is not enough. He also said he deserved punishment and apologized to his family and those affected by the child's death. Gordon's father and grandfather asked the court for leniency, described him as a nonviolent and calling the incident a tragic mistake. WTO-LTV put his defense. Our attorney argued that the act was impulsive and pointed to Gordon's lack of prior criminal record. However, Judge Landon Kite rejected the defense argument. You were entrusted with him and you violated that trust, Kite said WTOB reported. Quote, I have seen people exercising more care, caution, and concern for a squirrel that darts into the roadway, a lizard that's on the hood of the car. The judge added Law and Crime reported. Kite sentenced Gordon to 30 years in Florida State Prison and cutting him to 228 days of time served. Pablo's mother was not present in court for the sentencing. Members had started a GoFundMe to raise money for Pablo's funeral as of Monday, December 22nd. $6,153 of a $10,000 goal has been gathered. Our hearts are so heavy and we are saddened that our precious baby man has to leave us so soon. Pablo's grandmother, Evelyn, wrote, if you all will please keep our family in prayers because Lord knows that we need him right now. Now I'm going to say something that AFC talks about on this channel all the time. Shout out to the AFC podcast. A GoFundMe to raise money for a funeral. So you're going to tell me that there's no life insurance on the child. If we start putting life insurance on our children when they're alive, you don't need to ask for a GoFundMe when they pass away tragically, medically, intentionally, but in a different way. So we have to be responsible as adults. And in my opinion, I think the father should have been paying restitution in this case. I think he should have been paying for his son's funeral because he was the one who negligently ran over his child. I don't think the public should have had to raise money for the father's negligence. Just my opinion. But I feel like the mother probably couldn't bear being in the courtroom because of the traumatic event. And They also have another son, I forgot to mention. And I think it's disgusting that if you're in a relationship and you know it's toxic, another party ain't doing what you gotta do, first of all, you don't stay in a toxic relationship because it's not going to change. You move up that relationship, find a new relationship, move on with your life. Co-parent if you have to. But don't stay in an abusive relationship and think it's going to work because it's not. Because at the end of the day, the child majority of the time is going to be the one paying for the parents' mistakes. So again, I just think that 30 years is appropriate sentence for this father. Um, and I'm glad I didn't have no plea deals because this was totally negligent. He was totally careless. He didn't care about the safety of his own child. And in that situation, um, we're going to move on to our next story. Let's talk about the Nika Troy. In the Florida Panhandle, a killer that can't be rare. The rumor Steve Williams heard was that there was a body in the woods. Mr. Williams, 46, in those woods grow the dense patch of trees located in the area. Not far from Pensacola, known as Florida Town, was where he had gone when he snuck out at night as a teenager. Yeah, listened to Pearl Jam on the way to his friend's home, so he still came to ride dirt bikes. When he set out into the forest, it was dark, foggy, and wet, but before long, he detected the smell of burnt brush, and then another smell, sulfurous and foul. About 2 miles across town, Ashley Troy, Missouri State, her 14-year-old daughter, Danica, was missing. The girl, a bold, fearless teenager who loved singing and drawing, but had recently been sent to new school after getting into trouble. About one night on November 30th, while her mother was sleeping when Miss Troy woke up the next morning, Danica and her electric scooter were gone. After checking with all friends and parents, she's nowhere to be found. Miss Troy wrote on Facebook, "I worry this is an internet thing with strangers who knows at this point so much lying." And the police and others uncovered over the following days has shaken communities across Florida Panhandle from Pensacola to the fast-growing suburbs of Milton and Pace, where Florida's town is located. A long time ago, a court tried to rule out by some people do the same things that Captain Scott Jones, the last investigations division at the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office, in his mind, it can be simple. Sometimes evil people just do evil things. The Nicotine was born February 10th, 2011, arriving on a cliff lip. That required surgery. A condition her mother said made her love her even more. Margaret immediately, she said, as a baby, she was an easy child. She would sleep peacefully for 8 hours and wake up with a big smile. She grew up barefoot and brave, and parents said climbing trees, playing instruments, and running through backyards. Still, as she thinks her daughter always belonged her father, hers had been abusive before she was born and she had never met. Lately, she had problems that this past fall, Nika, who often went by Danny, started at a new alternative school. Highwood, after struggling to pass the eighth grade, is a school for students with academic or behavioral problems, or both. Records show that the year before, the Nika had twice been reprimanded for bringing a vape to a people's middle school. At our new school, where students required to wear uniforms must have 4 weeks of unblameless good behavior to get special privileges. A classmate recalled that they need a light to take a one teacher's cell phone and take pictures of herself making faces. Long story short, she was murdered by two young boys who are now charged with first-degree murder. Um, we gotta do better when it comes to parenting our children. You just have to. You see young black men at the age of 15, 16 doing life imprisonment, facing first-degree homicides, murder charges, whether it's regular, first-degree, or intentional. Um, we have to raise our children correctly. Um, if we can't raise children the correct way, then it's probably the best option not to have children. A lot of children, and the reason why they do what they do when it comes to violence and commit violence, because they see what goes on behind the scenes, whether it's at home, streets, good, anywhere. So, sad situation. I'm gonna stop it there. Tomorrow we're going to do story. Tomorrow we're going to story 5 out of 8. So I'll see you guys then. Peace.